see this code starting from students until page 199. Now, this code is written differently if you compare this code with this one. Okay, and the reason it is written differently is that it is a longer code, more than 40 words. So there are two major, differences between the way we cite a shorter code and the way we cite a longer code. In the case of a longer code, the first thing is that it should be indented from right, from the left actually towards right. Okay, it should be indented half an inch from the left side towards right. And the second thing is we do not put any quotation marks at both ends of this code. And the reason for that is because we indented this code from this side. Therefore, our reader will understand that this part of the paper is just a quote, right? And we write the citation the same way. So if we have written the author's name already over here, we don't need to add the author's name over here. We can just mention the page number, right? It's very important that we do not put period after the parenthesis. Put period before the parenthesis. So there is a period after EU. It will be before the parenthesis. In a shorter quote, whatever quotation mark we have, it goes after the parenthesis. All right. So look at this quote, for example, this sentence. So the period comes after the parenthesis. All right. Students, any question? Do you know how to do this indentation over here? Any student who doesn't know how to do the indentation? Any student who doesn't know how to do the indentation? You all know how to apply indentation on a quote? All right. So now a couple of more things that we need to cover. So Jan says he doesn't know how to apply the indentation. So I can give you an example over here. Uh, so this is a text. Okay. Now suppose this one is a quote, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me make this part of it. Okay. Suppose this is quote, the whole of it. Actually, it is not a quote, but just to give you an example. So in order to do indentation, so if there is a quote this long, we cannot start this quote from here. Rather, we should break this text and make it into a separate para. Right? If there is a quote longer than 40 words, we cannot continue in the same sentence. We have to write it separately like this. Okay. Now, in order to do the indentation, we basically use the tab function. Okay, so put the cursor over here and press the tab button. Okay, students. So, so we press the tab button, okay, for all the lines. All right. So I just press the tab button and the whole text move to the right. Okay. This is called indentation. But you have to make sure that this indentation is for zero point 0.5 inch. How do you make sure? So you select the text which you want to indent and go to paragraph, right? So this is the indentation. This is the indentation function. And now you want uh, indentation for zero point 0.5 inch. Sorry, I think it should work this way. If it did not, then I'll try with the left. Okay. Uh, so this is not hanging. This is not first line, right? So in my computer, 0.5 indentation is already set. So whenever I press the tab button, the text moves to 0.5 inches, right? But now if it does not, I need to check with the with this function, right? And I need to make sure that I have 0.5 uh, indentation mentioned over here. Now I'm not really sure whether it should go into the left or right. I think it should go in the left. Let me try just a minute. So let's go back. That is working fine, right? So just make sure. Now what I'm doing over there in that function is, let me show it to you again. What I'm doing over here is, yeah, it should be on the left. I'm making sure that it is 0.5. Sometimes it is set at 1 inch as well, right? If that is the case, then this text over here will move too far away. Look, it went 1 inch. We don't want that much. We want 0.5 inch, right? So you just have to make sure that it is set on 0.5 inch. You know, you practice it once or twice and you will understand where is 0.5 and where is 1. Okay, but just by looking at it you can tell it is 0.5 or 1, right? So you make it 0.5 inch indentation. Once you do it, you are done with it. Okay, a couple of more things about in-text citation. One is that sometimes the resource that you're using does not have pages as such. For example, if you are using an article, newspaper article, which is online, the online text very often do not have page numbers. So direct quotations from sources that do not contain pages should not reference a page number. Instead, you may reference another logical identifying element. a paragraph, chapter number, section number, table number, or something else. So older works like religious texts can also incorporate special location identifiers like verse numbers. In short, pick a substitute for page number that makes sense for your source. So let's read this example. Jones, 1998, found a variety of causes for student dissatisfaction with prevailing citation practices. Paras 4 to 5, within parentheses and a period. The other example is a meta-analysis of available literature. Jones, 1998, revealed inconsistency across large-scale studies of student learning, and then table 3, and then a period. Okay, so simply speaking, in simple words, if there are no page numbers for a resource, you won't mention the page number, of course, but you should look for some other, relevant identifier with the help of which your reader should be able to locate that quotation. All right. So you should watch your section might have, your resource might have sections, it might have chapters, it might have parts, anything of that kind. And you can mention that. Your section, the resource that you are using might have, lines in it, right? Number of lines written along with it. So, but whatever, possible number is available, just mention that at the place of the page number. Finally, summary or paraphrase. If you are paraphrasing an idea from another work, you only have to make reference to the author and year of publication in your in-text reference and may omit the page number. Right? This is very important information because you will be using this kind of, you will be using your references in this way very often. So APA guidelines do encourage including a page range for a summary or paraphrase when it will help the reader find the information in a longer work. So according to Jones 1998, APA style is a difficult citation format for first-time learners. So you must notice over here that there is no quotation marks. What does that mean? That means that this sentence or these words, they have not been lifted from the actual resource. They have not been copied from the actual resource. Rather, they have been paraphrased from the actual resource. So the words do come, the idea does come from another resource, right? This is not the idea of the writer of this sentence. Rather, this is Jones' idea. Okay, so the idea came from somebody else. Therefore, citation is required. But because in this case, the idea has not been copied in the words of the original author, rather, the idea has been paraphrased into different words. Therefore, even if we put citation, we do not need to put page numbers. All right. Uh, but still, if any page range is available, you can mention that, right? So for example, you found this idea on page 12 and 13, right? That is where you found this idea. Then you can just mention page 12 and 13 after the citation, after the paraphrased line. So for example, look at this last example. APA style is a difficult citation format for first time learners. And then Jones 1998, comma after Jones, comma after 1998, and then P dot 199, and then parenthesis close, and then a period after that. Over here, P199 means that this idea, which has been paraphrased, even if it is paraphrased, still the writer found this idea on page 199 of the article or of the resource. All right. So this was the last important thing over here. Okay, now here is one thing very, very important, students, that in terms of understanding, you should know that this is called in-text citation that we covered in the last class and today. And here we have learned that how we provide in-text citation for all the resources. What are the basics of those citation, how do we write longer quotes and how do we write short quotes. Okay, and then also we learned that how writing the citation of a journal could be different from writing citation of any other resource other than a journal. But what we additionally need to understand is this, that all the resources which are cited over here, right? All the resources which are cited over here in your controversy analysis paper or in your paper, there should be a corresponding entry of that resource in your reference list. Okay, so we discussed the reference list separately. We already have discussed that. Okay, we have discussed the basic rules for the reference list. Simply speaking, we have learned how to write a reference list according to APA. Okay, now if you recall, the reference list is written in such a manner that each entry or each resource in the reference list is written with the last name of the author as the first word of each citation. And all the citations are arranged according to the last name of the first author. They are arranged alphabetically with respect to the last name of the first author in each citation, right? Now, if you remember that, then you can visualize what actually happens, in the APA citation style. So basically, you have, for every source that you cite in the text, there should be a corresponding reference list. There should be a corresponding entry of that resource in the reference list. All right. Now, if your reader, for example, comes across this particular sentence while reading your paper, your reader would see that the writer of this information or the writer of this quotation is somebody whose name is Jones, and the year when this book was published is 1998, right? Now, if your reader is interested in knowing what is the complete detail of this particular resource, then your writer will look at the bottom of your paper at the reference list. It will be very convenient and easy for your reader to locate the name Jones. Why? Because you have arranged the reference list alphabetically with reference to the last name of the first author for each resource. And as you remember that Jones is the last name. It is supposed to be the last name, right? That is what we said, that we will mention the last name of the author in the in-text citation. So it will be easier for you, for your reader to locate Jones under the reference list, right? So your reader will go at the bottom and see in the reference list, find Jones, and then over here will be able to read the complete citation of the resource from where this quote has been taken. And same will be the case with all the resources that you have cited within your text. Okay, so in other words, the purpose of in-text citation is to help your reader locate the complete resource under the reference list. Okay, so that actually means two things. Number one, you must mention each and every resource that you have put in text citation. You should mention each and every resource under the reference list. All of the resources which are mentioned in the in-text citation must have an entry in the reference list. Okay, and the additional thing is this, that the resources which have not been cited in the in-text citation, they must not be in the reference list. So the reference list should only have those resources which have been cited through in-text citation in the paper. All right. So once again, in-text citation and the reference list, they both work together. Okay. Just in-text citation will not help your reader at all. Will not help your reader to identify the actual source of a quote or whatever you have borrowed from another source. So in-text citation and reference list, they work together, right? Now, when you did your annotated bibliography assignment, you people already have written your reference list in a sense, okay? You already have that with you. But basically what happens is that when you write a paper, you might like to add another resource, or you might like to drop another resource. You might find an idea, or you might find a resource which you think is relevant and you want to use in your paper. If you want to do that, definitely you can do that. Okay, but accordingly, your reference list will change. Okay, you will either have to add a resource or you will have to remove a resource depending upon what you did. So if you added another resource to your in-text citation, you must put its entry in the reference list as well. And if after completing your paper you realize that you did not use one or two resources at all, then you should remove those resources from the reference list in your paper.